Hello there. Here we are in Sarasota, Florida, and the question that we keep getting this week is, how do we open our heart chakra? Okay, so here it is. At your most basic level, everything in this universe is energy. Before that energy organizes itself into the physical body parts you see, it organizes itself into meridians and chakras. Chakras are centers of energy that are organized along the meridians. Each one holds a very specific vibration and has a specific purpose. Each chakra is a specific expression of prana, otherwise known as life force or source energy. The chakras look a bit like funnels of energy or vortices. They both absorb and emit energy. When a chakra is out of alignment, what that essentially means is it is not receiving or emitting energy properly. What we tend to see is that the chakra does not allow energy into it. It becomes very small, it changes in its texture and its patterning. The traditional name for the heart chakra is anahata. In Sanskrit, roughly translated, this means unhurt. That's an interesting thing to keep in mind because it gives you some key insight into the heart chakra. The heart chakra is your center chakra. It's located right in the center of your chest, essentially directly over your heart. All chakras in the body are essentially doorways to non-physical consciousness. They are doorways to the spiritual dimensions. However, your heart chakra is the center point between your physical chakras and your spiritual chakras. So we could see the heart chakra as the unifier between spirit and body. The heart is the first organ to manifest physically in a fetus for the same reason. You can think of the heart chakra as the central power point generator of love. Love is the central theme of the heart chakra. This is why it is seen as the chakra most associated with healing, because vibrationally speaking, the frequency of love is the highest healing frequency of all. It is also the chakra which is associated with compassion, forgiveness, emotional safety, the absence of fear, gratitude, hope, trust, generosity, joy, altruism, kindness, and connection. Because it is the unifying chakra, it is the chakra with the capacity to bring you into integration and therefore wholeness. Our heart chakra maintains the truth that we are connected to all that is. We can never be alone because we are an integral part of the web that connects and makes up the entire universe. The heart chakra is associated with the color green and is also associated with the air element. If you're interested to know the aspects of your body that the heart chakra governs, then it's the heart, the circulatory system, emotional regulation, the lungs, shoulders, arms and hands, breasts, and lymph system, beginning with the thymus gland. A little known fact is that our brains are in fact governed by our heart. It is our heart which gives messages to the brain, and the brain then obeys those messages. This is why the heart of mental illness is in fact emotional hurt. Anytime you see an issue with these aspects of the body, you can be sure the heart chakra is out of alignment. So what is it that causes the heart chakra to go out of alignment? It is hurt that occurs in conjunction with your connection to other people, relationship hurt. This is why I personally find it fascinating that anahata, the Sanskrit name for the heart chakra, translates to unhurt. Because unhurt, invincible, is essentially how we feel when the heart chakra is fully open. But conversely, it is hurt that causes it to close. Both negative emotional states and positive emotional states that apply to our relationship with other people are governed by the heart chakra. Around your heart is a membrane. We could think of it as a bit of a sac that also has fluid inside of it, and this contains the heart. This is called the pericardium. The best way to imagine the pericardium is to think of it a bit like a gestational sac in the womb. It both protects and nurtures your heart. It's an amniotic heart sac. But the emotional energy that you feel, especially chronically, affects this pericardium, this area or this sac, especially the fluid within the sac, which takes on the same vibration as the emotions that it is most closely inundated with. This is a good thing if the emotional energy you feel is a positive feeling emotion, but it presents problems if the emotional energy you feel is a painful emotion. This is especially the case with grief. The pericardium is an inborn wall that protects your heart, but it does so naturally in a way that allows love to come in and also love to flow out. However, what do we see when we encounter emotional injury in life? We see the pericardium, on a non-physical level, the heart wall, strengthening. So when you encounter somebody and you feel like they have an emotional wall, this is in fact what you're feeling. It's the fact that when somebody's hurt, they decide to armor that wall that is around their heart space. And as a result of that armoring, love doesn't come in and it doesn't go out. The painful emotions associated with the hurt you experience become trapped inside the heart wall. They strengthen the heart wall and love cannot flow. To understand more about this dynamic, watch my video on YouTube titled Building Walls to Keep Pain In. If you'd like to look more deeply into this concept of heart walls, I suggest that you look up the work of Dr. Bradley Nelson. As far as the spiritual field is concerned, he's probably the person that has dedicated the most of his career to the healing and understanding of heart walls. But I have never seen something affect the heart chakra more so than a heart wall. There's one thing that we need to get out of the way completely before I show you or tell you how to open your heart chakra. It's this idea of balancing your chakras. It's not going to work. See, a lot of people in the spiritual field, in the self-help field, they approach spirituality from this concept of we need to find balance. To do that, we need to limit aspects of our life and then exaggerate other aspects of our life to find some kind of equilibrium. This is the attempt to find equilibrium through control. An adjunct to this idea of controlling balance through finding equilibrium or creating it somehow, super abstract concept, is the idea that it's possible for a chakra to be too closed or too open. This could not be farther from the truth. You will hear all kinds of theories going around relative to the heart chakra, that if the heart chakra is too open, you'll experience weak boundaries in codependent relationships. Though it may seem logical, couldn't be farther from the truth. When all of your chakras are completely open, you experience natural equilibrium because non-physical spiritual energy, the energy of your higher self, is flowing fully into the physical dimension. As it applies to codependent relationships and weak boundaries, those are in fact imbalances which apply much more to your sacral chakra and to your solar plexus chakra. But both are the result of closed chakras, not open ones. Codependent relationships are not relationships that occur between people with open heart chakras. The opposite is in fact true. The codependent relationship, on both the behalf of the narcissist and the codependent, is in fact the result of closed heart chakras. It's a transactional relationship, which has to do with meeting needs in ways that are dysfunctional. They don't benefit the people, they're a detriment to both people. It's about meeting needs. Therefore, it has nothing to do with love. To the untrained eye, a codependent relationship looks like a relationship between an abuser and a victim. Of course, this is our tendency as a social species to see somebody as a victim and as the underdog and thus the good guy. What we don't understand is that the codependent is in fact getting something out of the relationship, which is why they can't leave. In other words, I don't want to make it sound super evil, but there are more sinister motives at hand for the codependent. And so there's a tendency, in conjunction with this need to see the codependent as the victim and as innocent and good, therefore, there's a tendency to assign this kind of idea that they are too loving. And that's why we think that they have too open heart chakras, when it is not the case. Just like the perpetrator, the victim also has a closed center of love. So what does all this mean? It means, contrary to all the warnings you may receive, don't have any fear about opening your chakras. So now that you know all this, how do you bring your heart chakra into alignment and allow it to fully open. Step 1. We have to become aware of what is preventing our heart chakras from opening. What's in the way? Intuitively, what emotions do you think you're struggling with that are keeping your heart closed? Have you been hurt in the past or recently? What emotional memories are unhealed? What do you feel in response to the word relationship? A while back, I created a video on YouTube. I called it Connecting with and Healing Your Heart. I encourage you to pause this video where we are and go look at that video, following the steps there, before you progress onto the rest of this video. Also, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Nothing affects the heart chakra quite like grief. Grief is in fact the cardinal emotional bondage that we are dealing with when we're working with a closed heart chakra. So be sure to look into what is still causing you grief. When we are in a situation where we're dealing with grief, we have perceived ourselves losing love. In this situation, we say we're heartbroken. So if you're dealing with heartbreak, I encourage you to watch my video on YouTube titled How to Survive a Breakup and/or Heartbreak. Step 2. Be open with your emotions. Repression of emotion is the undoing of the heart chakra. What we have to do is to become aware of our feelings, to express our feelings, and then to allow them to go instead of clinging to them. I suggest that you watch the video on YouTube that I did titled How to Express Emotion. This may help you if you're a person who finds it difficult to do so. 3. The heart chakra, as we know, is the chakra which is thrown out of alignment, most especially because of our painful relationship to people. But who are we in our primary relationship with? Ourself. An often overlooked fact is that lack of self-love affects our heart chakra immensely and causes it to close down. If you're struggling with self-hate, what's essentially happening is that you are putting your heart in a kind of prison where the jail keeper, which is you, beats it up every day. For this reason, I want to suggest the idea that you take a look at my book titled Shadows Before Dawn, Finding the Light of Love in Your Darkest Times. I was a major self-hater. My heart chakra was super closed because of this fact. And it really irritated me when people kept saying things like, you just gotta love yourself. Which frankly is like somebody telling you just gotta speak French when you've never learned French before. So this book is a practical how-to toolkit for self-love. 4. Many dimensions outside this particular reality do not have a time-space aspect to them. What that means is, thought instantaneously manifests. It means if you think, heart chakra open, heart chakra opens. The chakra system influences the physical but is a multidimensional aspect of you, which is why they are invisible to most people. It means if you think of your heart chakra opening and visualize it opening, it opens. The visualization that I see working the best with people is when people put their hands over their heart area and they imagine, while breathing in and breathing out of this area, that there is a kind of vortex of emerald energy. And if they take their hands and move them clockwise, imagining that by doing so they are opening their heart chakra to about a foot wide with the help of their hands, then letting the hands fall completely open and the chest towards the sky, imagining this heart space both sucking in energy from the world and also giving energy to the world. 5. Become intimate with your heart wall and see if you can talk it into coming down. I want you to imagine your heart wall. If it was made of something, what would it be made of? The answer could be granite or glass or wood, for example. Feel into the reason that this heart wall is there and see if you can intuitively feel what caused it to be there. Then ask your heart what it needs in order to be able to let go of that heart wall. Now this is imperative. Don't try to tear down a heart wall. If you approach a heart wall with an attitude of, I'm gonna get into you, of course the reaction of the heart wall is gonna be to strengthen harder. Why? Because it's gonna perceive you as a threat. It's there to protect you, remember? So what I want you to do is to try to convince the heart wall that there is no longer a need for it to be there. If you manage to get to the point where the heart chakra is willing to release this heart wall, imagine the heart wall being lovingly dissolved or released in whatever way feels best to you. My next tip is to stimulate the heart chakra with sounds. You can find binaural beats specifically designed for the heart chakra online. You can listen to the sound of singing bowls that are specifically designed for the heart chakra. Or conversely, you can take the traditional approach and simply make your own sounds. Traditionally, the sounds that are associated with the heart chakra and thus stimulate it the most are two sounds. The first is lamb. The second is yum. You can try both and see which one helps you the most, which one resonates with your heart the most. It should feel like it's causing it to buzz. Also, make sure that you play with the tonality of those two sounds, because some people need a higher note and some people need a lower note. Traditionally, the B note is the one that resonates with the heart. My next tip: surround yourself with the color green. Wear this color. Surround yourself in this color. Decorate stuff with it. Eat things that are that color. Speaking of which, that's my next tip. Eat green leafy vegetables. These are the foods that vibrate the most closely with the heart chakra and thus cause it to come the most into alignment. So that means eat things like kale, spinach, lettuce, dandelion greens, cabbage, chard, broccoli, and collard greens. Also include green tea, basil, sage, thyme, cilantro, and parsley. Tip 9. You can use essential oils to help stimulate and thus open your heart chakra. I've got some close personal favorites, and here they are: rose, melissa, neroli, marjoram, chamomile, yarrow, and eucalyptus. I find that using these oils in conjunction with placing something warm over your heart area, like a warm water bottle, works the best. Tip 10. Bring certain mineral spirits into your environment so that you can experience the influence of them. Yet again, I'm pretty partial to some. The ones that I notice having the most effect on the heart chakra are tourmaline, especially green tourmaline, watermelon tourmaline, and pink tourmaline. Green kyanite, chrysoprase, rhodonite, rose quartz, malachite, emerald, and jade. Tip 11. Move your body in ways that open the chest up to the world, and to the universe at large, and to other people. The traditions of yoga can suggest many poses to do, which are set out to accomplish this thing. I also want you to think really seriously about doing these kinds of movements in an outdoor setting, like the kind of place that we are in today. Because nature, especially places with breeze coming through it, are especially nourishing to the heart chakra. My next tip is practice living from the heart and also speaking from the heart. To learn how to do this, watch my video on YouTube titled How to Live from the Heart. Criticism closes off your heart chakra so fast that a really good idea is to be aware of the aspect of you that feels negative towards the world and thus negatively appraises the world. I want you to imagine loving or caressing or holding this aspect of you, as opposed to trying to condemn it and force yourself not to be critical. And when you speak, I want you to imagine speaking from the heart. So when we think a thought that we're about to say, we can feel it generate around the head area. That's why when you ask people about what they're thinking, they naturally look up. I want you to imagine bringing these thoughts down through your throat to the heart space. And then when you're about to talk them, imagine bringing those same words up your throat and out your mouth, so that even though they are coming out your mouth, they are in fact generated or filtered through your heart space. My next tip: deliberately think thoughts, say things, take actions, and seek out experiences that cause you to feel any of the emotional states that are associated with the heart chakra. For example, Think thoughts, take actions, and seek out experiences that cause you to feel love, compassion, emotional safety, the absence of fear, gratitude, hope, trust, forgiveness, generosity, joy, altruism, kindness, and connection. Any experience that causes you to feel these emotional states will bring your heart chakra into alignment. So, for example, start a gratitude journal. Take some action that shows somebody else in your life that you love them. Do random acts of kindness. Initiate a gathering with like-hearted people. I especially think it's critical when you're trying to open the heart chakra to begin connecting with other people. If we have experienced trauma in conjunction with relationships, how are we going to heal that trauma? In conjunction with relationships. We have to have a different experience. Instead of a traumatic experience with connection, we have to have a positive experience with connection. For this reason, I want you to watch my video on YouTube titled, How to Connect with Someone. And if you want to take it a step further than that, feel free to watch my video on YouTube titled, How to Receive. And for my last tip, my suggestion is to practice metta, either once a week or every day, depending on how brave you feel. To practice metta, you begin like you would with any meditation, and you imagine that your breath is coming and going from your heart. After a while, you see whether there are any intentions or words that are generated from the heart space towards yourself. Things like, may I experience peace. May I experience a feeling of joy, of wanting to be here, for example. You feel that and keep experiencing those generated beliefs or those generated intentions or thoughts of kindness and well-being towards yourself for as long as it takes for you to feel a bit of relief, and then you extend it a bit further. Perhaps you extend it to somebody in your life, like your son or daughter. I hope that they feel well-being. May they feel peace. May they feel connectedness. And when you have done that, you extend it a bit further, maybe to an aspect of the human race, or maybe to the world at large. You just keep expanding it and expanding it, so you can imagine yourself as the center of a ripple in a lake. Almost like when you drop a stone, you see those concentric circles eventually going out until they take over the totality of the body of water that you're in. It is an option not to just do this with people. You can also do this with anything in existence. You could do it with animals, you could do it with plant life, you could do it with all that is. The point is that you are making yourself the epicenter of the generation of love. The bottom line is, your heart chakra is the center of love. Anything you do that causes you to feel love towards yourself, towards other people, is going to cause your heart chakra to open. By intentionally doing things which will cause your heart chakra to come into alignment and thus open to become a channel from non-physical consciousness into physical embodiment, you will be setting yourself up to live a life in harmony with the rest of the world. All relationships that you have or will ever have will benefit by you doing so. But the relationship that will benefit the most is your relationship with yourself. Have a good week.